God gon' apply that pressure. Blessings in good measure, press it down, shaking together. Jesus pull me up, my cup running over. Got that blessing. Holy Spirit, all in my temple. Carry that word in my vessel. Trying that spirit, I'm attention. If it ain't from the Lord, it's the devil. Blessings in good measure, press it down, shaking together. Jesus pull me up, my cup running over. Got that blessing. Holy Spirit, all in my temple. Carry that word in my vessel. Trying that spirit, I'm attention. If it ain't from the Lord, it's the devil.
Peace, everybody tuning in to another edition to hashtag Not Your Sunday Service. Providing us today. My name is Brother Cephas, and I have for me reading Brother Julius. And the conversation that we're having today is just a continuation of what we touched on previously. Some of those troublesome smaller members, right? And last time we spoke about the tongue, and this time we're going to be talking about the eyes, right? Because your body is made up of different members, and the Bible talks about in Romans 6, actually in this chapter right here we have on the screen, it talks about how that you don't want to use your members for unrighteousness, but yield your members onto God, onto Christ, right? So with that being said, when it comes to the eyes, we talked about the tongue, but a major difference between the eyes and the tongue is that, whereas with the tongue, you have to manually open your mouth, right, to say something. So you have the ability to, one, you have to slow down, right? You have to think to yourself, okay, once you have a thought, is this a good thing to say? Is this a good thing or bad thing to say? So you choose your words wisely, right? Whereas with your eyes, they're always working 24/7, whether you're awake or even in your sleep. We don't see that because, you've got your physical eyes, and you've even got to a sense, you got some spiritual eyes as well. We like to use the saying, in today's time, like if someone brings something to you and you're having a conversation, they want your opinion on something, we'll be quick to say little things such as, well, this is how I see things, right? Because you have spiritual eyes as well as to things pertaining to the way you think. But ultimately, when it comes to the eyes, it can be a troublesome member as well, especially because it's automatic. It's always working. And, you can look at it from a few different ways. And starting off, I don't have this here because really our first place was supposed to be Job 31. But as I was going over the lesson today, I wanted to go to Proverbs chapter 27, because when I was looking at it, it kind of just sort of opened my eyes up. Crazy, right? Opened my mind up to just another way to look at things. Proverbs 27 and verse 20, because this is what is really the sum of everything. As we're gonna go through this lesson, of course, we're gonna do a deep dive into dealing with the eyes and why you want to. But this is gonna be the summary. This is gonna be basically gonna direct the conversation. We're just gonna read one verse, Proverbs 27 and verse 20. When you get there, go ahead and read, please.
Hell and destruction are never full.
Yeah.
So the eyes of man are never satisfied.
See, that's what you got to think about, because you have to have guardrails on your eyes. And this doesn't just mean, this can be taken both spiritually and physically, thoughts and everything. It says right here, hell and destruction are never full. And the thing you got to think about, I think it's in Proverbs as well. I don't remember which one, but it talks about things that are never satisfied, and it talks about hell and the grave. I don't think it says hell, but it says the grave, because guess what? You have people dying every day, right? The grave is growing more and more and more. You would think we would run out of room to place all these dead bodies over the thousands of years we've been here, but guess what? It never stops. More people die, more places for people to be buried. It is never satisfied. So guess what? The equivalent to that is the eyes. The eyes are never satisfied, because you can see one thing, you're like, man, that's cool, and you enjoy it for a time being. Guess what? You're gonna get tired of it. you're going to see something new, and that's going to catch your eye. And guess what? You're going to want that. Guess what? You're going to get tired of it eventually. And guess what? You're going to see something new again. The eyes are never satisfied. And this can apply in different facets. When we're going to talk about in this lesson, we're going to see how, as a man, right, and woman, you gotta be mindful of the carnal things, the fleshly things, right? As a man, you gotta be mindful of your eyes pertaining to women, and vice versa, women pertaining to men. You're gonna have to look at your eyes pertaining to money and to things and covetousness, right? Because the eyes are never satisfied, and even your eyes pertaining to God, because your mind is going to want you to think, okay, maybe there's something more out there. Even with matter of fact, let's just go over to our first place. Let's go over to our first place, Job chapter 31. So that way we can, talk book as we have in this conversation with one another. So Job chapter 31, and we're going to read this one verse here. Job 31 and verse 1. And when you get there, go ahead and read, please.
I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid?
Right, because the thing is with Job, Job was a wise man. You read in chapter 1 of Job, it says that Job was a perfect man, a perfect upright man, one that feared God and eschewed evil. He hated evil, right? Well, this man, you got to put on, you can think to yourself, if I want to be perfect, if I want to hate evil, guess what? I'm going to go ahead and just not even give myself any kind of wiggle room when it comes to my eyes, because he knows himself. Evidently, Job knows himself. And why is that? Because he a man. And guess what? My eyes could travel, right? So you know what? I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? And I think about that because, like, even in modern day times, if you somebody who's new to the word, or who even single, just trying to serve God, it don't matter what it may be, right? You don't want to be opening doors or opening doors for your eyes to be traveling, because once you lay your eyes upon something, now you're getting unsolicited thoughts. You're getting thoughts that you weren't looking for. But mind you, in the world, you're trained to do these things, right? It's natural for you to just be looking at any and everything that comes your way. But when you're serving the Lord and you want to have a clean mind, when you want to have pure thoughts, you're not just going to be exposing yourself to any and everything, because that's how I'll be honest. I'll be talking with certain brothers, and it'll be the little thing that leads to the big things, right? It can go from, just being on social media. I don't know what it is with this algorithm. When it's different for men than it is for women. I don't know what it is, but I'll be talking with brothers and they'll tell me, one moment I'm just scrolling, I'm looking at reels. Next minute, this woman goes from being fully clothed, and then as you continue to scroll, she just gets more. Women just start getting more and more less clothed. Out of nowhere, you're watching videos that you got no business watching. Why? Because that's how it works. You see something and it may catch your attention, and then it can lead to somewhere else. But hey, Job, he's going to go ahead and put those guardrails up front. He said, listen, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I look upon a maid? Back then he's dealing with those times. Right now, we have so many different avenues to get access to be looking at the wrong things. You know what I'm saying? Right now, you got children at a very young age who are on the internet. They being exposed to pornography. Right? We can talk about these things, because if we trying to serve God, we got to lay it out there. Hey, Satan putting out traps out here, and he's gonna catch you by your eyes. So if you trying to serve God, you want to have a covenant with your eyes that you're not looking at any and everything. He don't want to be looking. Right here it says maid, right? And the next place we're gonna go to, is gonna be Matthew chapter 5. It's gonna talk about the married woman. Here it just says maid, but ultimately it can apply to both. You don't want to be just looking on a woman just to be lusting after her. I think about it how because I'll be going to the gym, or just brothers just talking in general, anybody, you hear brothers will say, hey, I don't even be trying to be looking at women. If I'm out in public, my eyes are either up above or they down low. I'm not trying to be what we got going on over here, what we got going over there. Why? Because again, these eyes, they're working 24/7. So you don't want to be putting them on anything that can be welcoming any unsolicited thoughts, anything that can derail you from keeping your focus on having that chaste mindset that comes from the Lord. That's how Job felt. He said, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? Let's go over to our next spot, which is Matthew chapter 5. Matthew 5 and verse 27 and 28. We're going to read two verses here. Matthew 5, chapter 5, verses 27 through 28. This is real things, right? We can't sit here and act as if, once you went under that water, of course you're going to be a new creature, but ultimately you're a new creature in training. You have to start building up a new way of thinking, because you weren't thinking like Jesus from the jump. Jesus don't think like this, right? He's not lusting after women and things of that effect, right? Like man can do. But hey, he gave us the tools for success, though. We have, like I tell you in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, the things that you read in this Bible, these are our examples. So we can learn how to be better servants of God. So this is Mark, my bad. Matthew chapter 5, I knew it didn't look right. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 27 and 28. When you get there, go ahead and read, please.
Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, Thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart.
Because something that I've heard one of my teachers say, Brother Jedi, he says it's not about execution, it's about elimination. Because you can say, hey, well, at least I didn't do it. But if the thought is in your mind already, Jesus is calling it out. If the thought is in your mind already, you did it already. Even if the thought comes, you got to rebuke it. But if you are willing to let it sit there, like, I like, you're entertaining the thought, but you're just not going to do it. Guess what? You already did it in your mind. You just not granted the opportunity. You got to think about that, because guess what? If the door was open, would you walk through it? Well, it's already in your mind. You've already welcomed it. And guess what? Like it tell you, bosom rest in the anger rests in the bosom of fools, because you don't think that anger gonna show itself out. It's not gonna manifest itself. Guess what? That lust gonna do the same thing, right? And we gotta eliminate even in the Christian community, because some people may say it. We gotta eliminate the idea of, oh, well, you can look and not touch, right? Or, well, I didn't see a ring on her finger, so I can look at her. Listen, not everybody wears wedding rings. For a long time, me and my wife wasn't wearing a wedding ring. So, or you see my wife, you see any woman out here, she got a wedding ring, and you're like, oh, she got a ring, so she must be single. I can look at her. Listen, again, you really thinking from the carnal standpoint. You still operating according to that lust. Because really, in reality, how God set it up is that if you going to be dealing with a woman, if you are serving the Lord and you meet a woman, ultimately, you want to be looking at her as a sister in Christ first. You want to meet her like one of our other teachers, brother. I forgot his name. Who started IOG? It just doesn't escape me. I just had escape. But basically, he says that you want to meet them in the head before you meet them in the bed. See how the world operates. They want you to go ahead and, I got like Julius said in the past, like I got a test drive it. We always try to establish things based on how, the physical things play out first. Right. And then that's why in the movies and the shows, people are so quick to fornicate and lay with one another, because that's how they base things off of. And then they'd be like, okay, well, now let me try to see what kind of person you are. which is crazy, right? But when it comes to serving God, no, you want to have that chastity. You want to have that pure mind. And if you have that, then you're not going to just be lusting after a woman, because especially if you understand that law, hey, if you commit an adultery, you're supposed to die. That's another thing you got to put into consideration. If you commit an adultery, the woman and the man is supposed to die. So if you committing that thought in your mind, you letting it sit, really, you just letting death sit in your mind, and God, he gonna deal with you according to that. Hey, the thoughts of foolishness itself is sin. So right here it says, ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou should not commit adultery. But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. Right? So with that being said, you want to have these guardrails on your eyes, because they can get you in very big trouble according to his Bible. God doesn't want you lusting upon any everything. And we touched on how your mind can get traveling due to women, but it doesn't stop there. There's all kinds of things that your eyes can be looking upon to get you caught up. The next place you want to go to is Ecclesiastes chapter 5. Because with that, when it comes to the ways of the world, with the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and so forth, guess what? You have that covetousness in there as well. You can, because again, like we saw in Proverbs 27, the eyes of man is never satisfied. One of the biggest thing that this world harps on is riches, is money. We never satisfied with what little or what much we have, right? So we're gonna go to Brother Bowie. I could have let that ride. I could have let that slide. It was Brother Bowie who started the IOG, and he says, meet them in the head before you meet them in the bed. Brother Bowie, I could have let that slide. I had to make sure I addressed that. So Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 10. And when you get there, go ahead and read, please.
He that loveth silver shall not be satisfied with silver, nor he that loveth abundance with increase. This is also vanity. When goods increase, there increase that eat them.
Right.
And what good is there to the owners thereof, saying, the beholding of them with their eyes?
See, that's the thing. You got to be able to have some contentment, because there's always going to be something new. Even when it comes to women, right? You got men, even in their marriages, that's not content, with their wife. They feel like they need to go somewhere and look at something else. Guess what? A saying that I heard, which reigns to be true, is that the grass is greener where you water it. So if you keep your eyes on your woman, you keep your love on your woman, guess what? She's going to be the thing that she's going to be what you need. You won't even need anything else, The Proverbs talks about how, you want to live joyful. No, it's Ecclesiastes. I think it's Ecclesiastes 9. It says you want to be joyful with the wife without you. You know what I'm saying? This is your portion in your life. Be content with who you have and love on that person. But guess what? Same thing applies to, your finances. Because at the end of the day, whether you have a little or you have a lot, the Lord give you what you need. But hey, you can be not satisfied with what you have and be like, hey, you want to go get more. And to a degree, it's not wrong. I don't want to make it as if you want to, hey, I want to get an education and get a better paying career or a job or whatever. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem becomes when you make it a priority, when you put it over God, because you got to understand, in this world, people put money over God. As long as they can open up that bank account and see a handful of zeros, oh, I'm straight. I have access to the best health insurance and medicine and the best, the richest people. So guess what? I can build what I want to build. I can see what I want to see. I can travel where I want to travel to. People put that over serving God. But it says, he that loveth silver shall not be satisfied with silver. So if you love those things, you're just going to go down a deeper and deeper rabbit hole right here. It says, nor he that loveth abundance with increase. This is also vanity. Because at the end of the day, when all this going to pass away, it means nothing. When goods increase, they are increased that eat them. So guess what? You're going to get a whole bunch of new friends that you ain't know before. And you know who else going to pull up? The IRS. You know what I'm saying? The more money you make, the more taxes you got to pay. Yeah, they cover for you. And so you made some money for the both of us. That's what's up. The IRS gonna pull up on you one way or another. You know what I'm saying? So when goods increase, they are increased that eat them. And what good is there to the owners thereof, saving the beholding of them with their eyes? Like, I mean, what's it gonna do opening up that bank account just looking at them zeros? I mean, don't get me wrong, it ain't gonna hurt to again better your lifestyle, or you don't feel like you make enough. Make a little bit more to make means a little bit more comfortable for you. But when it's all said and done, you can't love it. And that's the thing. When we set our eyes on it, because guess what? The eyes of man are never satisfied. It's going to put you in error because you're putting your treasure in the wrong thing. You putting your love into the wrong thing. Let's go over to Luke chapter 12 to further elaborate on that. Luke 12. And Luke chapter 12 and verse 16. You know, because Jesus giving a parable about covetousness, and he's basically giving you an example of this man who had a certain amount of money, what he did with it, and what was the end results of it. And this was to, you know, just giving us a heads up. Hey, man, you don't want to fall into covetousness. So Luke chapter 12. And 16, and when you get there, go ahead and read, please.
And he spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentiful. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods.
You got to think about it. This man, he already rich, but guess what? Those that love silver shall not be satisfied with silver. And those that increase, they're not going to be satisfied with abundance. They're going to want more. This man right here, he already got enough. He rich. He's straight. He's like, man, I got all this money. What am I going to do with it? Am I going to help the poor? Am I going to help out? You know, am I going to go, you know, look out for some family? Am I going to do this, that, and third? No, you know what I'm going to do? I will pull down my barns and build greater. I got again. What's gonna be the benefit of except the beholding of it? You know, with thine eyes. I see this much. That's cool, but I want to see something even greater. Just to you know make a show of all the wealth that I've been able to create for myself. And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. Go ahead, verse 19.
And I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry.
Now I can kick my feet up. I've been able to get all this money. I've been able to build great barns and so forth. And now that I have all this in my possession, now I can eat, drink, and be merry. I can be straight now. I'm good. Why? Because his confidence was in his riches. And again, you know, like it tells in Ecclesiastes 7, money is a defense, right? So it's necessary to have it in this world. At the same time, wisdom is a defense as well, and it excels money because, hey, that wisdom gonna lead to everlasting life. And it's not just any kind of wisdom; it's the wisdom pertaining to the Word of God. That's what you need. That wisdom of God is gonna create the guardrails to keep everything in its proper perspective. You know what I'm saying? You serving the Lord, get your wife. Guess what? The marriage bed is on the fall. Do what you want to do with your wife. Love your wife. You don't need to be lusting and looking all over the place. Guess what? You serving God, you got money. Guess what? Deal with it wisely. Take care of your house, right? You know, look out for your neighbor, right? But don't love it. It's just a tool. It serves a purpose. But at the end of the day, your focus is on God, right? But this man, he trusted in those riches. You know, it doesn't say he was chasing after women, but he was chasing after that money. Verse 20, what's that say?
But God said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided?
Wow, after all that work you done did to attain all this money, to tear down those barns and build even greater barns, guess what? You done died. And that's how you got to always you always got to put things into perspective, because you were going to be judged at one point by God, and he's going to be looking at everything that you did. Were you putting some works towards him, or was it just on the money? You know what I'm saying? He done snatched your life, and he said, and who shall those things be? What is that money going to do for you? It didn't save you, right? But 21.
So is he that layeth up treasure for himself,
Right.
and not rich toward God.
So you need to be rich towards God. And we're going to go over to our next spot, which is Exodus chapter 32. Exodus chapter 32. Because all these pertain to what your eyes can gaze upon, whether it be physically or spiritually, that can catch your attention. And now it becomes your focus rather than God. You got to keep your spiritual lenses in check. You need to keep your physical lenses in check. So Exodus chapter 32, we're going to pick it up we're going to read verses 1 through 4. You know, because even, you know, pertaining to the money, when Jesus gave that parable of the seed and sower, you even had, you know, a portion of people who received the word, but guess what? The riches of the world and the cares of the world, it choked it out. That money can really get you caught up if you put your eyes on it. But Exodus chapter 32, verses 1 through 4, when you get there, go ahead and read, please.
And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings, which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people brake off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graven tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
Because that's how Israel was acting. They needed to see something, right? Now, mind you, they done seen all the miracles that God, you know, has done for them. And now Moses was leading them, and he just happened to be gone because he talking with the Lord. And after he done left for some time, now Israel like, man, we need something. We don't know what's going on with Moses. We need to go. We need something to put our eyes in to give glory and praise to. And guess what? Israel carried the same mindset throughout their walk with Christ or God for a long time. Because even when, you know, they were brought into the kingdom, they finally made it to the promised land. And guess what? They had God as their king, but they're gonna go to Samuel, the prophet, and they're like, hey, we need a king. All these other nations got a king. We want a king, when they don't even realize they got a king. They just don't see him, but they needed to see something. So they was seeking for a king, and they wasn't satisfied with what they could see right then and there. And we do that to this day. We're gonna go over to Proverbs 3. That's gonna be our last spot. We ain't gonna have time for Luke 11, but we do that to this day. Because fast forward to now, the Lord done gave us this Bible to where it's filled with so much information, but we either don't read this book or we're going to read it and feel like, oh, well, there's got to be more information out there. We are never satisfied with what that God has given us. We feel as if we got to go out there and get more, or we just we take for granted what God gives us. So we're going to go over to our last spot, which is Proverbs chapter 3. I'll read a few verses here. We're going to start at verse 13. When you get there, Proverbs 3 and verse 13. When you get there, go ahead and read, please.
Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver.
Right.
Verse 21. My son.
It said, my bad. It says, happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and that man that getteth understanding. Because in this word, you got some simplicity to it. Right? If you keep your mind focused on what you see and see it for what it is, there's a simplicity in the Christ, like it says in 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Right? He tells you to fear God and keep his commandments. There's a making of, and when in the making of many books, there's no end. So even when it comes to God, we should learn to have that contentment and have the guardrails to feel like there ain't nothing else out here, because there really ain't nothing else out here. Because outside of the book, all you got is the world. All you got is that tree of knowledge and good and evil. But verse 21.
My son, let not them depart from thine eyes. Keep sound wisdom and discretion.
It says, my son, let them depart from thine eyes. Keep sound wisdom and discretion. You know, this is going to be what's going to give you the guide rail so you don't get caught up. To keep your eyes in check, your spiritual lenses, as well as your physical lenses, to make sure that you're not falling victim to some of those troublesome smaller members. And what we talked about today is the eyes, and I hope y'all got some understanding in Jesus' name.
Surrounded by my enemies, preaching lost my limb of faith. Said it's strength in the hand of sin, talking about we under grace. Got no time for no fakes, had to get up out of church. Don't wanna burn in the lake, cause breaking the law and get you murked. See the truth, yeah, it hurt. In the tradition, I had to wrestle. All my members were given a sin. It's time to use me as your vessel, filled with the spirit. Ain't in the word, know that it's coming straight from the devil. Gotta hold tight, looking for the blessing, press it down, shaking
My God
together.
gon' apply that pressure. Blessings in good measure.